Omar Khadr, you got more class than the whole f***ing cabinet. Thank you.
What did the other woman say when she spoke into the mic?
That was Lisa Raitt doing heroic work in preventing Elizabeth May from really going down the sewer. You know, folks, first of all, how disgusting, both the sentiment and the language. Secondly, how did we ever know that Elizabeth May was so ahead of the curve in terms of the Justin Trudeau Liberals that gave our homegrown Islamist terrorist a $10.5 million check for hurting his feelings?
Our next segment is brought to you by the United Nations.
You know, they got trucks in Toronto now. Eh?
Yes, they have moved into our parking lot. They now own us. Annamie Paul is the de facto, I guess I can use the term, leader of the Green Party. She won the leadership race, did she not? And now we've, are those documents public yet? That we've discovered? Can we mention those?
Well, I know our lawyers sent a process server yesterday to the court, because what is spectacular, folks, is that Annamie Paul, who just launched yesterday her official election kickoff, in the periphery, there is turmoil galore. The Green Party of Canada and the Green Party Fund of Canada, right? They have launched legal action. Basically, the gist of it is when there was the specter of a leadership review that was quashed, it shouldn't have been, they should have been reviewed. And basically, what is Annamie Paul's sin? Well, she is pro-Israel. And when you have a party full of progressives, it is de rigueur to denounce Israel, to embrace the likes of Hamas. And we know this, don't we, Andrew? Because remember back in 2015, Elizabeth May, the former leader of the Green Party, and someone who I think is still strongly connected to the Green Party in terms of string pulling and puppet mastering, she was at that incredible event. I think it was the Ottawa Press Gallery in Ottawa, where she prayed. You know what? I think it would be in her favor. No, I think she should cling to that. I was drunk as a skunk. I didn't know what I was saying. I didn't know what I was doing. But she was singing the praises of Omar Khadr, our homegrown Islamist terrorist and now multimillionaire thanks to the Trudeau Liberals. I don't know if we have that clip, if Mr. Producer finds it. So if you are embracing Omar Khadr, you kind of get an idea where the Greens are on Mideast policy, don't you?
Well, it's because she is Jewish, I would imagine. But people are going to, of course, say...
That's Annamie Paul, not Elizabeth May.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, people are going to say, why are you guys carrying water for the Green Party? Because it's silly what they're doing. Yeah. They're suing their own leader because they don't like who won. They don't like what she's standing for. And I imagine this Green Party fund comes from their global fund, as they are quite literally a globalist party, hence why all Green Party parties across the entire world use the same logo and they use the same platform. It's pretty much NDP, but with pretending they care more about the environment. It might as well be the same party. But whereas the NDP would just be localized in Canada, and perhaps wherever Jagmeet is not banned from, the Green Party, you know, they collect funds, they collect organizational, not representation, but connections. It's basically just a global party, literal globalists who say, let's try to run here, let's try to run there, and they do their best. And I'd imagine their global partners are not a fan of Annamie Paul being a fan of, you know, her own heritage, I guess.
Yeah, well, you know, Andrew, that's so true. And I mean, they were fans prior to May when we had that big eruption with Israel and Hamas, and she issued a statement about, I mean, I don't want to misquote it, but it was, I thought, so innocuous, you know, let's get back to discussing the issues. And evidently, because she didn't outright condemn Israel, that was her sin. In fact, one Green Party member crossed the floor to the Liberals. And I would argue that I think maybe a lot of the Green Party membership didn't even realize and when they voted for her, that she was Jewish. You know, I mean, in terms of the identity politics poker game, I mean, she's got, you know, the ace and the king in her behalf. She's female and she's black, right? And that should neither be here nor there, but we know that's not true. Mm-hmm. That's how politics works. But when it was revealed that she was Jewish and pro-Israel, whoa, 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 whoa. Then you had defections, then you had turmoil about a leadership review, now a lawsuit. And I've never seen anything like this. A party going into an election, Andrew, where the party's own leader is the subject of a lawsuit to be ousted by her own party. Can you ever remember this?
If she does, in fact, get to hold her position as the leader, I think this helps her. I think this will get her NDP voters. But the thing about the NDP and the Green Party is, and I do lump them in on purpose, is that especially for the Green Party, you're going to have a bunch of people who probably used to care about the environment a lot, of what maybe the Green Party was 20 years ago, and just as we are literally the party to try to push environmental policy. Now, obviously, it's different. I don't think that a lot of their party members, and maybe this is me being too mean, know a lot about what's going on. They see Green Party, they think it's good, and I don't think that they're going to allow any differentiating opinions in this, because that's just not how it works when you get into these far or left groups. It's just, we have these set of things. You're not supposed to be offensive to anyone, and disagreeing with Palestine as an oppressed state is just one of these things you're not allowed to say. Just like as if she was to tweet out there are only two genders, there'd be even more outrage.
Gracious. You know, and the other thing, I'm glad you brought the NDP up, because when we look at the equation of the electoral map, the 338 seats, and why the Liberals tend to do so well, let's consider this. This is Toronto Centre, folks, which used to be the riding of the disgraced ex-finance minister Bill Murneau, and here's the thing. I can easily see support for Annamie Paul and the NDP, and guess who comes right up the middle? It's the Liberal candidate, another riding won by the Justin Trudeau Liberals.
Is it this the Marcy Ian riding?
Yes.
So she's probably going to retain, is my guess.
I would imagine, and unless you had some meeting of the minds between Green and NDP voters to strategically vote for one party or the other, but I don't see that happening. And again, this will be, I think, a riding won by a Liberal candidate going right up the middle.
I mean, not that Jagmeet can ever win, but I would be so interested to see how this sort of stuff would play out if we started asking Jagmeet these questions. You ask Annamie Paul her support of Israel versus Palestine. She tells you Israel. There's your big controversy. You start asking Jagmeet about tough questions about religion, who he sides on in Islam versus Sikhism.
How about Khalistan?
All these questions about his religion.
Yep.
NDP is a party of voters who hate religion. I'm sorry to tell you. They're not and maybe they don't hate religion, maybe they want to respect all people, but when it comes down to the beliefs of something like Sikhism, young voters who are 18 to 25 who are very left are not going to be going to bat for anyone's religious freedoms, as we've seen in the last year. Now, it may be different because they might see it as an oppressed a group. However, Sikhs are not going to be NDP voters, and NDP voters are not going to be Sikhs. That's just going to be the reality of it. I don't see how those two belief systems can mix at all, especially when you take from the fact that a common NDP voter is going to be pro-Palestine. A person who's a religious Sikh is not going to be pro-Palestine. That's just historically and literally not how it's going to be. So I would like to see how things would go if Jagmeet actually had to start answering questions about this stuff, is if his party actually started to know his true belief system and his actual opinions on global conflicts and religious doctrine in that sense, because all we ever get from Jagmeet is tax more, child grants, days off, we need more sick days, and everything's offensive and racist, and I'm going to cry about it.
But you know what? I would dispute that the likes of Jagmeet Singh have nothing to do with religion or hate religion, because we know he has a soft spot in his heart for the idea of a a Sikh republic within India called Khalistan, and there are Sikhs in Canada that do believe in this. I think this is a deader issue in India than it is in Canada, believe it or not. And let's not forget, Andrew, the biggest act of Canadian terrorism goes back to the 1980s, the Air India bombing, and this was what it was all about, right? So when you look at Jagmeet Singh, when he's brought on the carpet to talk about an independent Sikh republic, Khalistan, he does tap dancing that would make Fred Astaire blush, okay? Because he can't be seen as pro-terrorism or pro-extremism, and yet he can't go against the wishes of much of his base, I'm sorry to say, which are pro-Khalistan Sikhs.
Well, I don't doubt for a second, I don't know if that's what you're alluding to, that Jagmeet doesn't believe these things. Him and his brother both seem to be religious Sikhs. I wouldn't doubt that for a second. I don't necessarily care about what his beliefs actually are. I just think that if he's if he's Sikh, I don't think the massive NDP voters would support the religious views that a Sikh might have or pertain to have, especially in relations to things like Palestine, Islam, transgenderism, stuff like that. Now, Justin, do we...
So complicated.
Exactly. It's hard when you're lying all the time. Justin, do we have that clip the Menzoid mentioned? Good to go. All right, let's see it.
All right.
He's got 1 second now.
Oh, he's got
all of a sudden, from one moment, he's the greatest producer ever. He's found the clip. The next moment, he wants...
Justin will always be the greatest producer ever. I mean, we began the discussion with baseball. Do you know I call Justin Mr. Triple? I'll leave it up to the audience to decide if that's because he hits a record number of triples or he always bats into a triple play.
That would be exciting. Triple play is an exciting play no matter what.
It sure is.
Well, let's go
ahead. The batter.
Let's move on to...
Oh, you know what? I think, do you have it, Justin? Okay, here's Elizabeth May in a clip that will never get tired. Check it out.
Do you guys ever wake up with old theme songs from former black and white TV shows that you never thought your kids would ever see and they're running through your head? Like every now and then I wake up thinking about, Lisa, you've got to wait. Lisa, I wake up thinking about a horse is a horse, of course, of course. This morning I wake up thinking this. Why am I thinking this? Do you guys wonder? Liz, hang on.
We wonder why you're thinking that too. But
Wait, you know what? Do you guys remember the theme song? Welcome back. Who knew Cotter was spelled K-H-A-D-R? Welcome back, Omar Cotter. It matters to say it. Welcome back, Omar Cotter. You're home. Doesn't it strike you as unusual? I didn't use up my time. No, you didn't.
there's a lot unusual about your speech, Liz, but we're going to take off.
Omar Cotter, you got more class than the whole f***ing cabinet. Thank you.
What did the other woman say when she spoke into the mic?
That was Lisa Raitt doing heroic work in preventing Elizabeth May from really going down the sewer. You know, folks, first of all, how disgusting, both the sentiment and the language. Secondly, how did we ever know that Elizabeth May was so ahead of the curve in terms of the Justin Trudeau Liberals that gave our homegrown Islamist terrorist a $10.5 million check for hurting his feelings? But I'm not going to quote her verbatim, but, you know, Omar Cotter has more effing class than the entire Harper cabinet. You know,
let me write that one down.
Yeah, it is mind-boggling. This is a woman who thinks that a terrorist who killed an American ally and partially blinded another one has class. The guy should be locked up for the rest of his miserable life. And secondly, in 2019, I got to ask questions to Elizabeth May at the press conference after the federal leadership debate in Ottawa. And this is what I brought up to her. And I thought she had an easy out, Andrew. I thought she could have said, which I think is quite clear, that, you know what, I was drunk as a skunk, I didn't know what I was saying, you know, then I'd have forgiveness. But no, she doubled down. She said, you know, the press gallery dinner, it's all about comedy, it's all about making jokes. And my follow-up question is the family of Mr. Speer, are they laughing about this? You know, the person whose life was taken by this scumbag? So this is the leader of the Green Party up until recently, and who I think is still pulling the strings. She is a disgrace. She is vulgar. She's a hypocrite, i.e., remember Victoria Day 2 years ago, drove in BC, drove in a Victoria Day parade in a Dodge Viper, which I think manufactures 640 horsepower. Not exactly a plug-in Toyota Prius. So I have nothing but contempt for this vile woman based on those statements. She's never apologized for them.
Oh, hi. That was a clip from our Rebel Daily live stream. It's hosted Monday, Wednesday, and Friday by the big boss man, Ezra Levant, and Tuesdays and Thursdays by me, Sheila Gunn Reid, and my good friend, David Menzies. On the live stream, we talk about the news of the day, we show some videos, and we interact with our viewers at home. We stream at 12 noon Eastern, 10 Mountain. You can find us on YouTube, Rumble, Super U, and Odyssey.